Hello, young man. I'm glad you're here to learn about the value of intuition and how it can help you achieve your goals. You see, as a vigilante, I've had to rely on my instincts to make quick decisions and stay one step ahead of the villains that plague our city. But intuition is not just about trusting your gut. It's about developing a deep understanding of yourself and the world around you. When I first started out as a crime fighter, I relied heavily on my intellect and analytical mind to solve problems. I would analyze data, look for patterns, and use my knowledge of martial arts and detective work to take down the bad guys. But as I gained more experience, I began to realize that there were times when my intellect wasn't enough. There were times when I had to trust my instincts and make decisions based on feelings that I couldn't quite explain. That's when I started to develop my intuition. I started to pay attention to my gut feelings, to the little voice in my head that would tell me when something wasn't quite right. I learned to trust my instincts, even when they went against my logical thinking. And you know what? It worked. It worked. I started to make better decisions, to anticipate the actions of my enemies, and to stay one step ahead of the game. But developing your intuition is not just about making decisions. It's about understanding yourself and the world around you. It's about being aware of your strengths and weaknesses, your motivations and desires. It's about being able to read people and situations, to understand the underlying dynamics that drive human behavior. When you develop your intuition, you become more attuned to the world around you. You start to notice patterns and connections that you wouldn't have seen before. You start to understand how people think and behave, and you can use that knowledge to your advantage. You become more empathetic, more compassionate, and more understanding. But developing your intuition is not just about personal growth. It's also about achieving your goals. When you trust your instincts, you become more confident and more decisive. You're more willing to take risks and to push yourself outside of your comfort zone. You're more willing to trust yourself and your abilities, and that's when the magic happens. So, how do you develop your intuition? Well, it's not rocket science, but it does take practice and dedication. First, you need to start paying attention to your gut feelings. When you get a feeling about something, don't ignore it. Take notice of it, and try to understand where it's coming from. Is it based on fear, excitement, or something else? Second, you need to start trusting yourself. Trust that you have the ability to make good decisions, even when you're not sure what the outcome will be. Trust that you have the skills and the knowledge to navigate any situation, and trust that your instincts will guide you in the right direction. Third, you need to start practicing mindfulness. Mindfulness is the practice of being present in the moment, of paying attention to your thoughts and feelings without judgment. When you're mindful, you become more aware of your intuition, and you're more able to trust it. Finally, you need to start taking risks. Taking risks is the best way to develop your intuition, because it forces you to trust yourself and your abilities. When you take risks, you're more likely to listen to your gut feelings and to trust your instincts. And when you do, you'll be amazed at the results. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, but what if I make a mistake? What if I trust my instincts and they lead me astray? Well, let me tell you, mistakes are an inevitable part of the learning process. And yes, there will be times when your intuition is wrong. But the key is to learn from those mistakes and to use them as an opportunity to grow and develop. When I first started out as a crime fighter, I made plenty of mistakes. I trusted my instincts and they led me astray. But I didn't give up. I kept pushing forward, and I kept learning from my mistakes. And that's when I started to see real results. That's when I started to develop my intuition and to trust myself and my abilities. So don't be afraid to make mistakes. Don't be afraid to trust your instincts and take risks. Because when you do, you'll be amazed at the results. You'll be amazed at the confidence and the self-trust that you develop. And you'll be amazed at the things that you can achieve. Now, I want to share a story with you. A story about how I used my intuition to solve a case. It was a few years ago, when I was still a relatively new crime fighter. I had been tracking a lead on a notorious villain, and I had finally tracked him down to an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of town. As I approached the warehouse, I got a feeling that something wasn't quite right. My instincts were telling me to be cautious, to slow down, and to think things through. But my logical mind was telling me to push forward, to take down the villain, and to solve the case. I decided to trust my instincts, and I slowed down. I took a moment to think things through, to consider all of the possibilities. And that's when I noticed something. I noticed that the windows of the warehouse were all boarded up. and that the door was slightly ajar. My instincts were telling me that this was a trap, that the villain had set me up, and I trusted my instincts. I didn't go into the warehouse. Instead, I called for backup, and I waited for the police to arrive. It turned out that my instincts were right. The villain had set a trap, and I would have walked right into it if I had trusted my logical mind instead of my intuition. But because I trusted my instincts, I was able to avoid the trap and to take down the villain. That's the power of intuition. That's the power of trusting your gut feelings and your instincts. And that's what I want to share with you today. I want to encourage you to develop your intuition, to trust your instincts, and to take risks. When you do, you'll be amazed at the results. You'll be amazed at the confidence and the self-trust that you develop, and you'll be amazed at the things that you can achieve. So, don't be afraid to trust your instincts. Don't be afraid to take risks. And don't be afraid to develop your intuition. It's not going to be easy, and it's not going to happen overnight. But if you're willing to put in the work and to trust yourself and your abilities, you'll be amazed at the results. You'll be amazed at the person that you become and at the things that you achieve. And if you feel this talk helpful, don't forget like and subscribe. And if you want to be a more grateful person, you can donate on the Patreon account. Link on description. See you soon, friend.